Hello, Europe, and welcome back to Chef's Choice. So I'm just going to wait a moment until a couple of viewers are here. I wasn't sure where... hi, SKS. I wasn't sure whether I should make a real video or a live stream, but I thought that it would be quite fun to talk with you guys instead of talking to you guys. Because so much has happened yesterday. It was such a strange show. Well, it was a great show until the results were announced, and then suddenly it got quite chaotic and quite surprising. So I think there's a lot to talk about, and so I want you to join in as well and say what your thoughts are. Because I think that there were a couple of things that leave a little bit of bitter aftertaste, in my opinion. But let's just start with congratulations, Netherlands. I'm really happy that they won. To me, that they weren't the biggest favorite for me personally, and apparently for many people, because they only got third in the televotes and third in the jury votes. So it's always a little bit strange when those win that didn't get on top. But I mean, that's the system. That's how it works, and it was a great performance. I think it was, or at least to me, I was much more touched with his performance last night than in the semifinal. So I'm happy that he won. But yeah, there were quite a few other surprises. Let me just see what you are writing. Greece was underrated. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Greece below San Marino is very surprising. Madonna was a mess, yes, for sure. The jury, yeah, let's talk a bit about the jury control, the jury votes. Because there was so much chaos. The votes were all over the place. Sometimes juries were voting for countries that all were on the right side of the board. So I'm really wondering how the opinions of professional music industry people can differ so much from each other. Yeah, so it was really surprising. A lot of different countries were voted for by the juries. And yeah, the televote was very surprising as well. Can I just say that Italy, Russia, Greece, and Cyprus tried to mess up our favorites? I don't know what that means. Oh, Netherlands got second in televote. Sorry, that's my fault. Okay. I think Cyprus, to be honest, was quite fair, their placement in the end. It wasn't in my opinion, there were better dance performers than her. So I get that, but of course it always depends on someone's opinion. But France, yeah, definitely, in my opinion, was deserved to be much higher. So let's dissect a little bit the votes. So Sweden, of course, as we know, again, no, not again, but they won the jury votes. I mean, I understand that Sweden was really high. It was a good quality song, good quality performance. But first place, yeah, that's an open question. Especially, what amazed me was seeing Sweden or seeing John Lundvik's song number 1 in first place with the jury, and song number 2 for Britain that he co-wrote in the last place. That opens the question for me about how much was just the Sweden vote because it's Sweden. Of course, I completely agree that the song and the performance was better than Britain, but to be on first and 22nd place, that's a stretch. So yeah, that was quite surprising. Another thing that leaves a bitter aftertaste for me was the whole story about Belarus. The jury that were disqualified, basically, or their votes were disqualified after they more or less announced their votes for the semi-final, which I agree. I think it's against the rules. They should be disqualified. Well, the jury, not Belarus as a contestant. But what I don't understand is why they would choose that fake system of creating artificial votes for the jury and then announce it as the official jury votes from Belarus when it's not based on any real representative opinions of the country. I don't understand why they don't just double the votes from televotes and cut the jury completely. Yeah, so it's a really strange system. Maybe someone can explain that, what the thought process is to do it that way. I mean, of course, there's the story with San Marino's non-existing televote as well, but I think that's a little bit different. And the last thing that I'm not, or that I question and that lingers in my head somewhere, is the story about Norway with their camera issues in the jury final, where there were some hiccups, and they asked to redo their performance, or to perform again after all the others, and they were declined that option, or they couldn't perform again. So I'm wondering how many points by the jury they would have gotten if they could have performed again, because they came first in the televotes, probably also because of that whole story that was known before the final started. But still, I mean, could Norway have won if that whole thing didn't happen? We'll never know, but yeah, it's sad when something like this lingers through hangs in the results and stays an open question because nobody can answer that. So let me just see what you are writing. Do you think that the voting system needs to change, or are you happy with the way it works? That's the hardest question of all. I don't think it works perfectly. I think the jury system has a lot of flaws. There were still many neighbor voting things happening, and I always say neighbor votes aren't bad per se. I understand that when a country is, when you have several countries that do great, you tend to choose the one that is close to you, or that you can relate to the most, that is culturally close to you, or whatever. But when you give 12 points to a country that didn't do well at all with the other juries, and it happens to be the one that always gets 12 points from you, then I have a problem with it. And we tend to always look at Cyprus and Greece for that, but this time also, I mean, Azerbaijan and Russia, the Scandinavian countries, of course, but there, as I said, Sweden did get points from all the juries, high points from all the juries, so it's not that surprising, and I understand there better why it happened. But I don't know how they could change up the voting system. There's probably not a perfect way, but I think they should keep thinking about how they could make changes, and it's been a long time since changes have been made to the voting system, besides the voting announcement. So I think it's time they rethink it a little bit and find some better way, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, Belarus jury votes. I talked about that before. Or so many comments. Czech Republic was underrated. Definitely underrated by the televotes compared to the jury votes, but I wouldn't have seen them as a top 10 contestant, but yeah, they definitely deserve more than 7 points. As did North Macedonia. I was shocked how few votes North Macedonia got. I never was the biggest fan of the song, or especially the music video before. But last night she actually blew me away, and I honestly, when she got so many points by the jury, I really started to think that I would have been happy if she had won. Actually, I think it was a beautiful performance. But of course, I understand that the public didn't give as many votes as the jury gave, but it was still too little or too less. Yeah. Yeah, Spain. I mean, they never were too high for me, but that they would get so low, I wouldn't have thought. Maliqi, Norway, and Israel did get the loudest cheers at Eurovision Village. That's interesting. I understand Norway and Israel, of course, but Spain, I would have thought maybe Switzerland would have gotten in there as well. Yeah, Germany's public votes, that was a shock. I mean, they were expected to rank really low, but getting 0 points, that's tough. And I didn't think they were that bad, to be honest. Yeah, Belarus jury points, it really looked like they were just selecting votes for countries that didn't have a chance anyway, so they don't interfere that much with the end result. But yeah, as I said, it doesn't make sense to invent results. When you have 2 sets of results and one is invalid because they were disqualified, then you still have 1 set of valid results that you can use and that are representative of what the country thinks. So why invent a second half out of nowhere? That's ridiculous. There's no way else to say. Wow, so many comments. I'm not used to that, but it's awesome. Thank you guys for joining in. Let me see. Yeah, the Netherlands definitely deserved to win. I'm not questioning that. I mean, I knew that they would do very well across the board. They do tick all the boxes basically for many different groups of people. So yeah, I'm definitely fine with Netherlands winning. And he did an amazing performance last night, so I'm good with that. Yeah, now North Macedonia. I was so happy that they got high scores all across Europe from the juries. So I'm sad that it didn't come across as well in the televotes. Yeah, I loved Greece's song more than their staging as well. I agree. Jury votes shouldn't count 50%. It's a televote show since the beginning of time. Is it? Didn't it start as a jury voting system? I'm not sure, but I thought it started with jury votes. So I don't think that's a completely valid point, but I mean, I agree that the 5 people in a country that have some relation to the music industry, but let's be honest, sometimes it's it's a stretch. So to give 5 people the same power as to all the rest of the people is a bit sometimes probably questionable if you don't really have some kind of qualification to have that honor of that power. Yeah, I haven't mentioned Italy. Italy, second place. I didn't expect that at all because the rehearsals didn't go so well. But and also because I wasn't really a fan when the song won Sanremo. But over time, it really grew on me, and I'm happy that they got second place. They probably get a little annoyed by now that they are always the bridesmaid but never the bride. So I hope they don't lose the passion and their will to fight for the win, and someday it will happen. Thank you, Hannah. I'm happy that we became fourth. I wasn't sure how high we would get in the end. So fourth place is awesome. I mean, best result in a really long time. And I think Luca is really happy with it. But the problem is in Switzerland, it's a little bit like Britain. The common public always complains and they wish we don't win because of the costs that will involve when we have to host. And to be honest, last night I watched the final at a public viewing in Zurich, and it was terrible. There was no atmosphere. The people were sitting there quiet. I mean, when Italy's Soldi is playing and you're the only one clapping, then you know you're in the wrong place. I mean, that's and they had a drag queen host that had no idea what she's talking about. I think she never watched Eurovision before. She called it Eurovision Song Competition instead of contest. All she did was repeating the sponsors that sponsored that event. Oh, she really made me mad. It was I was disappointed of that evening, to be honest, but not because of the show, but because of what was around me. So if that's an indication of what a show in Switzerland would be like when we actually win, then I'm not sure. If I don't see your question and you want it to be answered, please write it again. So I have another chance to see it. I wasn't expecting that many comments. What do I think about Hatari and the Palestine flags? What's the issue? I mean, we had Madonna a few minutes before that did it much more publicly and much more symbolic with the marriage basically between Israel and Palestine. And yeah, I think it's good that Hatari did something. I mean, we all knew what they think, and if they wouldn't have done anything in that direction, maybe some people would have, would have been happy as well. And I mean, the political situation down there is something that should be discussed on some level. It shouldn't be part of the actual contest, but I mean, at that point when Hatari chose to show the flags, it wasn't influencing the contest anymore. The votes have been done. Well, the votes were already in. So yeah, no problem with that. I hope they don't get some kind of punishment. They surely wouldn't deserve it. The way they showed Czech Republic and Malta when they received televote points is cruel. Yeah, I've read a tweet before, and I think that was quite a good point. I'm not sure if that new system of announcing the televotes in the reverse order of the jury votes is a good thing, because first of all, by the end, when only one country is left, you can basically calculate how many points they get. And second of all, yeah, it tends to put even more emphasis on countries doing badly in the televotes, because the higher they got jury points, the more attention they get when their results are announced. So Sweden, I mean, that was heartbreaking. Yeah, I'm not sure if that system is the right way. I'm so happy that next year we will have a positive and drama-less contest. Let's hope so. I mean, Ukraine will be back, so who knows what happens then. I think there always will be some kind of drama, but at least it's not based on the political situation of the country. So yeah, probably it's not going to be that intense, but who knows. My thoughts about Azerbaijan never giving any points to the Netherlands. I wasn't sure, or I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, yeah, it's strange, but it's hard to say anything about it. Is it just the juries or the televotes as well? I don't know. Any thoughts about 3 big 5 in the bottom 5? Oh. I mean, the 3 that got in the bottom 5, they were the worst ones of the big 5. But did they deserve to get into the bottom 5? That's questionable, or that's up for debate. But yeah, it's quite obvious that the big 5, if they don't do extremely well, they tend to do extremely bad. And I guess that that corresponds to their status as a big 5. And I've been saying that for a few years now, that I'm not a fan of the big 5 status and privileges that they get. I think they should be competing in the semifinals, and I think it's a good thing that when you're in the semifinals, because they never know how their actual result is. For them, the lowest place is 26. For every other country, the lowest place is 41st, 42nd. So I think it would be good for them to see a real result and to show the people that they are willing to actually compete and not pay their money to get ahead in the contest. I mean, it's like a soccer team paying to be in the final of the World Championships, or for a celebrity to pay for their daughter to be in a elite university. It's basically just a bribe, and or at least if you expect to get these privileges for paying more than the others, then tell us how much you pay. Make it public, because it's so intransparent, the whole financial aspect of Eurovision. We never know exactly how much the countries need to pay, and yeah, for me, the whole Big 5 system should be eliminated. Nobody cares in Portugal about Eurovision? Really? That's surprising. I wouldn't have thought that, because my videos about the Portuguese entries tend to always get the highest or the highest views. So I thought Portugal is really into Eurovision, but probably it's just a dense and intense group of people. Yeah, I did keep clapping during Soldi's during Mahmoud's song. I had to. Someone had to. I mean, I wasn't the only one, but we were maybe 4 people or something. I look like Sarah. I don't know if that's a compliment. Um, yeah, Norway wasn't even announced as the televote winner. That's a bit sad. They didn't get any recognition for that achievement. I mean, I understand that they didn't tell it in that moment because we still needed to have the surprise of someone overstepping that number. But in the end, they should have said. That's a bit sad. I don't know if I will go to Netherlands next year. Maybe. To be honest, when I was at the contest last year in Lisbon, I realized that I'm more comfortable actually to watch it on a screen the way it should be perceived, because in the stage it's completely different. Although it was a great experience, but maybe in the Eurovision village in Amsterdam or wherever it will be, that would be something. I will definitely think about going to the Netherlands. I think they will probably do an amazing show. I think that they can really entertain us, and I think it could be the best show since Sweden, since Stockholm. Germany was overrated by the jury. Okay. Well, do I like Iceland? Of course. I was rooting for Iceland. I would have been happy for Iceland if they won. Would I prefer Poland and Lithuania instead of Belarus and Denmark? Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about the semifinal results. I think Belarus deserved to be in the final. I think she really stepped up her game. I thought she was going to be dead last, or one of the two last places in her semifinal. And she really surprised me positively. So I was happy that she got through. But I would have liked to see Poland anyway. I think Poland surprised me positively as well. And Lithuania, definitely. I always liked Lithuania more than Denmark this year. So I would have preferred Lithuania, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Denmark did quite well in the final in the end. So apparently she deserved to be there. I don't know what would have happened to Lithuania if they were in the final. I think they could have ended quite low, to be honest. Yeah. The BBC should start internally selecting again. Yeah, could be a solution. It depends who's behind it. I mean, when you have the wrong delegation that doesn't care or doesn't see what people want, then it still would end up badly. I have a strange feeling that for Switzerland as well, it could be a one-time thing that we did so well this year. I think we could end up like Germany next year, that we suddenly end up very low again. I think it's always bad for a country that is doing consistently bad to get back on track, to get the artists to appreciate the chance they get, but still, I mean, the UK has so many great songwriters. Maybe they should start there. And what I find interesting is the last few winners, at least since Jamala, the winners always were completely original songs that were created, as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong, that were created within the country. The song was written there, the singer was a native person, that a resident. So to me, that's a big sign that this international trading of songs and collaborating between countries, etc., it gets you to some high place in the end, maybe if it's done right, but not the first place, and that's the way I think the UK should go as well. That they have so many great songwriters, so many great acts. I mean, their acts, of course, usually do come from the UK, but they tend to write the songs as well, in some international way. Yeah. Do I believe that North Macedonia came second in juries because of politics? What politics do you mean? Just the name change, basically, or I'm not sure what situation you are referring to here. I had an interesting idea for changing the voting system. Nations who do not reach the final should not vote in the final, and voting should start from the first song. Interesting. I do think it. I don't think how much it would change if only the countries voted that are competing in the final, because I think that the countries that are that were eliminated actually should be more how do you say this, unbiased, because they don't have anything to lose. And we've seen a few times in the past that countries that are still in the running and that are favorites don't give votes to other favorites. I mean, the clearest example was when Portugal won, and Portugal didn't give any votes to Bulgaria, and vice versa. And Italy was somehow in there as well. That were quite a big favorite. So I don't know if that is good. If only the countries voted that are still competing, maybe the other way around. I don't know. And I don't think that voting should start from the beginning. It might correct a little bit the problem of the running order, but I think people would be too distracted with voting, and I mean, you don't know what's still to come if you haven't seen the shows or the songs before, so you don't know if you should vote for it or not, and I think that's problematic. But I like the idea, and I like that I like to see options. So it's great to throw in ideas. Oh, if I go to the Netherlands, will Missy come with me? my cat. Probably not. I don't think she's a travel cat. I think she will stay here, even though I would miss her. Oh, finding a hotel could be different in Netherlands. Okay. I love the way that the public reacted to Sweden second time in a row. I think that people shouldn't vote differently because they know the jury votes a certain way. Well, I mean that they're allowed to, of course. But it's a little bit sad that it comes to this. I understand the idea, but I think it's a bit sad that the public feels the need to correct what the jury does. Yeah. Yeah, only the host country should be qualified for the final. I think that's how it should be. Who gave the best performance of the night? I really was touched last night by North Macedonia, which I didn't expect. Same for Netherlands. I really was so surprised with France. I think they were the biggest risers in my list. I think he stepped up his game so much between the national final and the final now, and it wasn't really rewarded. Yeah, I think those were my favorite performances of tonight. Oh, and yes, Israel's performance was really touching as well. He was so emotional, and he's such a likable guy, and you could see how much he enjoyed being there and being in his country, representing his country. I was really happy for him in that moment. Yeah, Spain 14th in televote and 26th in juries. Norway first in televote and 15th in juries. Yeah. I think Norway did get first in televotes, also a little bit because of the whole story with the technical hiccups in the jury final. But definitely that's not the only case. I think people really enjoyed it, and that's because they voted for it. Yeah, Norway is something that we will question for a long time. I think what would have happened if they could have performed again in the jury final. And Spain, I would have seen them somewhere between 14th and 26th. For me, it definitely wasn't one of the highlights, but it's definitely not the worst as well. There were other countries that deserved it more, if a country deserves it to be last at all. Yeah, original songs written by the artists are the best. I agree completely. That's how it should be. I think it should. We should make a well, basically a singer-songwriting contest of it. People should be singing their own songs. I think that always works best because they always connect with the most. Ja, für den 4. Platz hätte der Luca schon mindestens einmal 12 Punkte bekommen. For the 4th place, Kimi says for the 4th place, Luca should have deserved to get at least one set of 12 points by some country. And I think he did in the televotes, if I'm not wrong, but not in the juries. And that was surprising for me as well. He did deserve to get at least one set of 12 points. But the Big Five pay the fees of San Marino, Malta, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia, and the Baltic states. How do you solve that? We don't know the numbers. We don't. Yes, they pay more, but the fees as they are calculated as far as we know by the size of the country or the size of the population. And in relation to that, San Marino pays their amount and Germany pays their amount. Their broadcaster have the same difference of budget. If you're not willing to pay according to that without getting benefits, you should think about if you want to compete at all, if you wouldn't want to broadcast a show at all, because it's very cheap broadcasting time actually. They compared to a single soccer match from the Champions League, or especially even more from the World Championship. It's really cheap if you calculate it by minute of showtime. So I think it's ridiculous that they are discussing this. But as I said, we don't know exactly how much they pay. If they are rewarded the Big Five status for the fee they pay to compete at Eurovision, or for the fee of being a member at the EBU. It's all a bit untransparent. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Norway's jury votes wouldn't have changed because they ranked them quite low in the semi-final as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect them to suddenly get hundreds of points by the juries, but I'm wondering if it would have been a bit more. But yeah, I don't think it would have been enough to win. But it's still just a bit strange that they weren't given the opportunity to perform again. It has been done before. Making a prediction, the Netherlands will finish bottom 5 in 2020. Yeah, I mean, it does happen quite often that the host country doesn't do that well. I was surprised, honestly, with Israel's result this year. I would have thought that they would be higher than that. Not in the top 10, because it was quite cheesy, but he is such an amazing singer, and the staging made sense for the song. He was emotional. I think he deserved to to be higher. She got me as in global top 50 iTunes charts. Wow, I'm happy. I actually liked the staging aspect of it too. It doesn't need to be a singer-songwriting thing. Yeah, I agree. The staging aspect should still be part of it. I don't want a show with just people standing on the microphone and playing their guitar and nothing else. The show aspect should still be part of it as well. But even then, but also there, I think it would be nice not to have the same 5 stage designers being shared among the countries and competing against themselves, basically. Yeah. What did I think about the stage, opening sequence, hosts, etc.? Not particularly, but I liked the stage. I think many countries didn't use everything they could have used. I mean, those switching LED screens in the back didn't get so much attention, I think, that they could have gotten. But overall, I enjoyed the stage. I think it was better than last year, but I missed the LED screens. The hosts, mediocre. They had good moments and bad moments. Yeah. Do I think Kazakhstan could make a debut next year? At this point, I'm getting tired of predicting these things because you never know. The EBU does what they want to do, and there's no real system. I mean, there's no reason why. No real reason why Australia still is the only non-member that gets to participate. Yeah, the EBU does strange things sometimes, I think. Again, this year now with this whole Eurovision America thing, I mean, let's see what happens, but so far I'm not excited. It amazes me how amazing second places in recent years are. Yeah, that's true. We had a lot of... Actually, the past few years, I think, always the first and the second place could have won. Maybe we should change it and do 2 winners every year and host it together and host or have 1 semifinal in one country and 1 in the other. And the final in the one that actually got first. Just an idea. How do I think Israel hosted? Yeah, well, overall, I think that they hosted great. I think they did a good job. During the rehearsals, there were quite a few things that didn't go too well, and that a few delegations weren't happy with by the broadcaster, things that didn't work. But in the end, I think we didn't really feel that. So apparently they did quite well. Yeah, so I'm happy with Israel hosting. I don't know what everything happened behind the scenes. What happened with the whole financial situation, with the government not really paying what they said they would pay. There are a lot of things. Yeah, I think that's what I have to say. I'm your dad? What? Okay. Hi, Daddy. If I were an artist of the Big Five, I'd prefer to perform also in the semi. I felt myself better in the final knowing I really deserved this. Yeah, I agree. For the artists themselves, it would be better as well. Yeah, I don't really see an advantage of being in the final without competing in the semi-final. Yeah. Yeah, I think the UK didn't deserve last place. It surely doesn't belong on the left side of the board, but yeah, as I said in the very beginning, juries giving all the points to John Lundvik's song number 1 and none of the points to song number 2. It's strange. What do I say? The juries gave almost the same amount of points to Portugal and San Marino, or that Norway shouldn't advance to finals according to juries. I get that Norway isn't the jury favorite. It was always quite clear that it would rank higher in the televotes. But that the difference would be that high surely was a surprise. And I think that there were better jury songs than this in the semifinal as well. So I understand that it wasn't on the qualification list for the jury somehow. But Portugal getting the same amount of points as San Marino, that is a surprise. Yeah, because San Marino as a, well, yeah, I mean, it was vocally terrible. It's not a particularly high quality song. And Portugal definitely had quality to it. It wasn't a radio friendly song, but it was a artistically well-made song, and it was well performed vocally. Yeah, I think that that is strange. Comparing the last 3 years' hosts, which ones were the least worst in my opinion? So the best, basically. Ukraine, Portugal, or Israel? I think the Ukraine were funnier than I thought they would be. I think that they had a few quite fun sketches in between. Portugal, I cannot really say because I watched the 2 semifinals in the arena and we couldn't hear at all what they were saying, and we couldn't really see the short films that they show in between the skits. But as far as from what I've seen, I think they were quite boring, to be honest, in Portugal. So if I had to rank them, I think Portugal third, Israel second, Ukraine first. But I'm not sure if I remember Ukraine good enough. So I might be wrong. What's your ranking? The Palestinian flag, we had that question before, but just to say it again, I had no problem with the Palestinian flag. Madonna did it before that. There is no, it didn't have any influence on the outcome of the contest because it was after the voting. And I think if you're making a contest in a politically complicated country, it is something that can be and maybe should be discussed and be brought up. So I have no problem with showing that flag. I'm glad they didn't do it during the performance, and I'm glad that it wasn't talked about that much. But it's good to show something, I think. And I'm not particularly pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. I think it's a very complicated situation that I'm not willing to get into. And there are bad things on both sides, and yeah. Portugal and Netherlands won with simple stages. The important thing is the music. Yeah. I don't think it's the simplicity that wins. It's the authenticity, the realness of the emotions, and how much the artist can connect with their staging. So and then that's why it's important to for the artists to be able to have a voice in their staging. And sometimes I think that doesn't really happen, and then it becomes a very generic staging that Switzerland, for instance. Yeah, so I think the important thing is authenticity. Orchestra back to Eurovision. I always say that it doesn't need to be an orchestra. I think some songs can perform as a backing with a backing track. If it's a dance song, for instance, or something. But I think if acts want to play their instrument live, or if they put instruments on the stage, they should be able to be played live. But I've talked about that before. What do I think about Israel bringing in previous Eurovision singers? That was one of the highlights, of course. It's always fun to see previous winners, especially the ones that are so charismatic, like Mons and Conchita and Eleni and what's the Ukraine act's name? I draw a blank here. Yeah, but that was fun, of course, and switching the songs and singing the Hallelujah song at the end. It was a good moment. I think, yeah, that's always great. I think it shouldn't always be the same artists, even though those four probably, well, Eleni, it was the first time, but the other three tend to be in those shows quite often. So maybe we can switch it up. Yes, Verka, thank you. It can be, yeah, there are maybe other artists that could do things like that as well. But yeah, I had fun watching that. I'm getting more concerned. There's getting more microphone effects with the live performance. Some songs sounded merely auto-tuned or on the route to it. Well, sometimes it is part of the song. I've only recently realized that Fly on the Wings of Love, what was it, Denmark 2000 or something? Was it Denmark? I think so. They already used autotune, and they were allowed to use autotune quite obviously on the stage. And I was really surprised about that. So it definitely shouldn't become a correcting thing that you can use to correct what you're doing. If it's a stylistic thing, I think we can discuss it. But yeah, it doesn't make things difficult to judge, of course. But I think that there is a difference between correcting your voice and styling it, or using things like Neta's loop machine or something that are still working with your voice and using your voice as a musical instrument. Netherlands is the only country that's got televoting points in all 40 countries. That compensate the fact that only receive two sets of 12 televoting points. Yeah, yeah, it's quite surprising that Netherlands didn't get that many 12 points from the juries. But yeah, that's how the system works right now. That's how a televote second and the jury third can be the overall first. It's always a bit sad for those that were first in the individual category. But yeah, that's how it is. Madonna. I mean, I think it was an entertaining performance, but nothing more. I don't think she had any particular reason to be in the show. I think it might have to do with the whole Eurovision America thing. I don't know, or just her being quite openly Jewish. I don't know, but it, yeah, I mean, it was an okay interval act. But I mean, the auto-tune machine or the vocoder machine definitely was working strong in her performance. I'm not a bigger Madonna fan now than I was before, and I wasn't the biggest one before, so yeah. Any thoughts on Ireland finishing in the very last position? I think the song doesn't deserve to be very last, but the performance, unfortunately, was really underwhelming. She felt out of place. It felt artificial. It made no sense, the staging. So in some way, I understand it, but I don't think she deserves it. Israel would have gotten 0 points, yeah, if Belarus fake voting wasn't there. Let me just quickly check that. I wasn't aware that this was actually... Yeah, oh my god. Wow. Okay. Yeah, well they did only 12 jury points. They did get a few televote points, but yeah, that's surprising. That's really surprising. and it shows how incredibly useless those fake points for Belarus were, and how, yeah. The more I think about it, the angrier I get that is how they chose to compensate for the lack of valid jury votes for Belarus. That's not how democracy works. That's not. Yeah, you can't invent points. It's mind-boggling. Thoughts on how Netta performed? I think she was fantastic. I think she was really incredible in the opening of the first semifinal, and last night as well. I love Netta. I don't love all her songs, but as a performer, she's amazing. I think she was much better even than when she won last year. I didn't particularly like her staging last year in the end, but this year I think she was incredible. Yeah, Estonia get 10 points from Belarus as well. Let me just see what we have. Belarus. Estonia. Well, you did get a few jury points. Of course, 12 points from Sweden. Yeah, and 1 point from Belarus. 1 jury point from Belarus. Yeah, 12 points from Sweden. Would you like to say something about that? Yeah, I'm happy for you. I'm just kidding, but it's interesting to see. I wasn't in the arena. I wasn't even in Tel Aviv this year. I didn't have time or money to go there, unfortunately. So I can't say anything about the security system. Yeah, San Marino's televote is always done the same way. I know, but why? If you can't provide a set of votes, why not use just the other half? Even though you would give 5 people even more power in the juries, but you can't invent votes. It's who came up with that idea? If you do it, you need to have a better system. But Belarus made it obvious that it's just choosing random countries that don't have a chance of winning, so you don't interfere with the end result. Rick Flash, why did they have to make fake points? What happened? As far as I know, the Belarusian jury during the semifinal or after the semifinal, they kind of announced who they voted for, which they weren't allowed to, of course, or they at least mentioned a few things that you could reproduce who they voted for, and that's why the jury votes from Belarus were disqualified last night. It was announced before the final already. So they used the same system that they use for San Marino to make up their televote to make up Belarus's jury vote. Yeah. Yeah, with yeah, San Marino shouldn't get televotes. Yeah, that's probably the best solution. Yeah, Danny Ray, the problem with San Marino is that they're so small that their telephone infrastructure, as far as I know, is connected to Italy's infrastructure, so they can't see who calls from San Marino and who calls from Italy. They don't see the difference. So it's impossible to have a televote for San Marino. Although I'm quite sure there would be some way. I mean, just use the app, or well, the app does connect through probably the telephone somehow too. So yeah, it might be difficult, but that's how it is at the moment. Thoughts on the 7 points Czech Republic got from the televote? Yeah, it's definitely too little votes, too few votes for Czech Republic. I was happy that they got a few 12 points from the juries, but in my opinion, that was in the end probably a bit too high. It was a fun entry, and yeah, I was surprised that it was received so badly by the televote. Yeah, it was a surprise for sure. Did you think about Italy doing so well? No, I didn't. But I'm happy. I'm happy they did. I think they deserved to be high, and apparently it was one of the few countries that jury and televotes completely agreed with. So maybe they should have won. Open question. Do I agree with the results? That's quite a broad question. I agree with some of them, and with others I don't. I have nothing against gay, but I think the Eurovision goes more gay focused than it is now. It wouldn't be the biggest. It was really much of it yesterday. Really? What was so gay yesterday? Let me just get a bit better lighting. What was so bad or so gay yesterday? I mean, yeah, France, of course, but other than that, did we have so many gay-related things? I don't think that's really an issue. I mean, it shouldn't always be the focus, or you shouldn't send an act because you think they would do well with a gay audience, etc. But it's part of the game. Why did Israel present the televote differently this year? I think they wanted to make it more exciting, because with the recent system, let me think. Yeah, with the recent system, it by the end, you already possibly knew that the one result that was left isn't going to be enough to reach the end. But actually, that's the case now too. So I think yeah, I'm not completely sure if it's a good way to do it this way, like they did now, or if they should have kept the other way. But it was exciting. So, but it was heartbreaking to see Sweden, for instance. I think it puts more emphasis on negative televote results. It's 2019. IP addresses should work for apps. Yeah, true. Do I think the UK should get rid of the national final? It's interesting. So many people are talking about what they want the UK to do next year, and basically everyone is saying they just need to be more courageous, more daring, more more creative. And I don't think that's a thing of whether or not they should do a national final or not. And I'm worried that their idea of uniqueness and creativeness and daringness results in a complete disaster, in a complete silly act, and that wouldn't do well either. So I think my advice would be authenticity, original songs, a charismatic artist. I think that's the UK's strength. I don't think that they are a disco party dance country. I think that their strength is in writing songs and having authentic artists with personality that shines on stage. And they need to find that. I don't think it needs to be an already famous artist. I think that might be even worse. Yeah, I think an artist that you don't know, but that surprises you by their personality, that hasn't been found before, would be something great. I have nothing against straight people, but we have a lot of that during the year. No, David, I didn't take it as an offense. I think it is sometimes, for a straight person, strange to see Eurovision and the open to see how open sexuality is talked about or showed at Eurovision. So I understand that this captures a straight person's attention. And that maybe it can be a little too much at times. Yeah, so I didn't take it as an offense. No problem. Why did I think Spain did so poorly? Why did Sweden do so well? I mean, Sweden, I can agree. Maybe not first place, but as a jury song, as a very well-made, polished, radio-friendly pop song, It does work well, and it was well performed. It was performed very classy. So I understand that they get a lot of points by the juries, but that they are on first place. Yeah, and Spain, I wouldn't have seen them that low, but I didn't see them on the left side of the board. So I was expecting it a bit too high, it to be a bit higher than they were, but not too much, to be honest. Do I think Spain is always underrated, or are they just too hyped up? It's interesting that Spain tends to be loved quite much before the contest, and in the end they don't get that many votes. But I think they really have trouble with their stagings. Last year it also maybe had to do with the surprise that wasn't a surprise anymore. In the national final, they had so much chemistry, so much love, and that was so unexpected. But by the time of the actual Eurovision, we already knew that, and it wasn't a surprise anymore. And the staging was too much, too kitschy, too cheesy. And this year as well, it is a fun party song. It is happy. It brings you in a good mood. But the staging just didn't fit the song, in my opinion. So I think staging is the biggest issue for Spain. Hi, Michael. Yeah, I did discuss the differences between jury and televoting with a few examples, but yeah, but it's hard to. Yeah, I don't have a conclusion. It's just something that we see in the results, and that brings questions, but no answers, basically. But it's quite obvious that the jury system has their flaws, as well as the televoting system in some cases. Yeah, but it's such a difficult question. Yeah, Sarah had almost spoke the song. That's a good description. I'm not upset about how low France ranked in the end, but I'm a bit sad. I think he deserved to be higher. I think he did a great show. He grew probably the most out of all the contestants. I had fun watching him, but yeah, I mean, he didn't get much points from the televotes nor the juries, so they were in agreement, apparently. Yeah. I don't think Muerte would have been much better for Spain. I think they would have had a similar problem in the end. I think they had better songs in the international final that would have worked better. Yeah. So it's been 1.5 hours. I didn't expect it to be that long, but it's so much fun talking to you guys. But I think I will wrap this up now. Thank you so much for joining in. I really didn't expect so many questions and people, and I loved talking with you, because a lot of the things that I talked about, I didn't have any answers myself. So it's easier when it's a direct contact. yeah, and I don't really know what I will do now the next few weeks. If I can do a video about something about Eurovision that has not been said yet, but I will think about it. And if you have an idea for any video that I could do, you're more than welcome to leave a comment somewhere in this video. Probably not now anymore because I might not see your comment anymore before I end the stream. But you can leave a comment in another video or tweet me at Chef's Choice. Yeah, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the show last night. I did. And let's see what the road to Amsterdam or wherever it will be in Netherlands will bring. I think there will, as always, be some things happening that will need to be discussed. So we have an exciting year ahead of us, I think. Yeah, so thanks again for watching. Thanks again for all your support during the past few months with my videos, all your comments there. I really enjoyed this season. Yeah, so before I ramble too much, goodbye, enjoy your Sunday, and have a great summer if we don't hear each other at all until the next season. But I think I will do a video from time to time. Yeah, bye.